Okay, well, welcome to the Monday, June 17th Select Board meeting. Will you join me in saying the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first up, we have the warrants. Brian has the general fund warrants and the miscellaneous warrants.
All right, a general fund warrant. Dated June 13th, 2024. Total amount is $138,000. $138,066.71. About 40% of it is a line item for the law enforcement for the Franklin County Sheriffs. That's around 62,000 or so. The other items that are on here, a lot of just tax overpayments being refunded. Otherwise, everything else looks ship shape here. Do you know, Sean, is that or Anna, is that the last, or I'm sure we'll get one more, probably bill from the Franklin County?
Yeah, do one more.
Okay.
Yep.
So with that said here, I would make a motion that we pass the general fund warrant as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
You take these, Jonathan?
Yeah, go do the miscellaneous.
All right, here, so got lots of miscellaneous warrants. First one is, would you like me to do all of them together or one at a time, John? Just do them. All right, here we got the federal ARPA fund warrant. The total amount is $18,820. Two separate invoices for cost systems. Let's see.
Online land records.
I'm sorry.
Online land.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Online land records. Next one is the infrastructure development warrant. Total amount is $58,353.18. All of that to GW Tatro. And I didn't get a chance to, that's for the construction.
Mhm.
Get past it a couple times a week. It's definitely coming along. Looks like
It is,
they
yeah.
breached all the way to the final road here. It's gonna make it.
Yeah.
So we've got that one for infrastructure development. Next one is the industrial park warrants. This is a total of $707.99. Three different ones, all to Green Mountain Power, sewage pump, sign lights, road lights. These are the same as pop up just about every month here. And let's see, next one is the stormwater utility warrant. Total amount is $1,722.36. Stitzel, Page and Fletcher, $760. Ruggiano, $455, and Aldrich and Elliott, $507.36. So that's the last one there. One more on the Stonehouse warrant, $2,200. Eric Weaver for $1,000 and Robert Chevalier, $1,200. I believe those are the places in the park for the musical folks, correct? Okay. So I would make a motion that we pass. I think that was 1, 2, 6 of them here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, just 5 of them. All right. All 5 of those as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Jack has the payroll. So there's 2 of them.
Okay, June. May 27th to June 2nd, $26,671.46. And the next one is June 3rd to June 4th, or June 3rd to June 9th. And that's for $26,849.42. And I make a motion that we approve those.
Second that, Jonathan.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. I guess that rolled it. Okay, that's done with the warrants. In your packet, you have the minutes from the special select board meeting on June 12th. And you have the regular meeting on June 3rd. Would anybody like to make a motion that we approve those minutes?
So moved.
Second that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next up, public comment. Anybody want to come up for a public comment?
Yes.
Come on up, state your name, please.
I'm feeling like I
trained now, so I'll actually come up. Jonah Grimm, president of the Tanglewood Estates Association. And the association has asked me to be sure you all know how grateful we are for Sean and Julie, Dave in spirit, and Jason in doing their public meeting. It was excellent, answered everybody's questions, created a sense of confidence going forward. And maybe a little snarky, but the state could take some lessons from these guys on how to run a public meeting. Just because it was really solid information with great graphics and a good conversation after. So I just want to say thank you very much. Thank you. And please keep this train on the tracks. This group is really sensitive to that part of the whole deal. And we just keep reassuring them it's going to happen. Thank you.
We're getting that. I just want to say thank you for your email too, that we got.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I appreciate it.
Yeah. We're meeting with our lawyer this week to finalize the MOUs and stuff, so. Keep it chugging.
Okay. In your packet, you have a letter of interest from Michael Sawyer to fill the vacant DRB seat left by Arthur. Anybody want to make a motion to appoint Michael Sawyer to the DRB for a term expiring in March 2026?
So moved. I didn't see the letter.
Yep, second that, John. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yep.
Did you say aye, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah, I
thank
just
you.
found the
Yep.
letter.
Okay.
Talking to myself.
The DRB is still, that makes that full, right?
Yeah,
I believe so.
is there one more?
One
Okay,
more?
maybe a little more.
Do you have any alternates? Oh, you do have one. Okay, town managers report, Sean?
Yeah, actually, I don't know if you got it, I probably should have brought it up before, but I separated Dave and Megan as their own item on the agenda. But either way, we're at the same point of that, so I'm.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I see
Yeah.
it here, I'm looking.
Yeah, I see that the other one, yeah.
Okay, well, Dave, you wanna come up and give your
Do you wanna go
public
up
works
together?
update?
Is it okay if I join?
And the Director of Community Development, Megan Turlin, can come up too.
A lot of projects to go through. I sent you kind of a memo with the list of them all, but we could go through them. If you'd like for the public benefit and for your benefit, and feel free to ask me questions as we go through these. So the first projects that we're still working on is the Tanglewood. Always good to see John here. We still need like 2 easements. A couple weeks ago, we got the final easements, the draft easements from the town's attorney. So I immediately tried to schedule a meeting with him because I want to go through, because we've got to do this with Clyde Allen Drive also. So we want to make sure that the easements are all set, that our O&M agreements are all set, and that all of the legal documents are correct for incorporating these stormwater systems into our MS4 permit. So I tried to set a meeting up with him and he immediately takes off. It's like he sent all the documents, and then he's off on vacation.
2
And he's
weeks.
not back until sometime this week. So we have a meeting with him on Thursday morning to go through all this stuff.
So you got any hangups? So
I don't think there's gonna be any hangups. I just want to make sure, I want to talk it through with him. Because we're kind of setting the stage for
Yeah.
every stormwater project going forward for the next 10 years. And I want to make sure that everybody in the town here, Sean, Megan, myself, Julie, has a solid understanding of what it's going to take to move these projects forward. Instead of, just me or just Julie or something like that. That way, not all of our eggs are in one basket. So we'll have the meeting on Thursday. I've got Julie trying to set up meetings with the homeowners for like Friday or early next week, so we can get those done and be ready to move on with at least these projects, because we've got the money for Tanglewood and we've got some of the money for Clyde Allen Drive. We've got enough to move forward with those.
So you're thinking you're gonna break ground this summer?
That I don't know. We'll get it out to bid this
Oh, okay,
summer,
it's gotta go.
and then we'll just have to see what the contractors say, whether they can do them or not. So fingers are crossed. So that's kind of the update on Tanglewood and Clyde Allen. The McQuam Shore Stormwater Study, that final report, we had a good meeting on that a few months ago too. That final report is gonna be done sometime this summer. And then, you know, they're gonna be giving us some options on what we can do to help alleviate all the stormwater runoff, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, runoff from the farms out there. If we, somehow we need to get together and find money to slow that stuff down and to stop it from getting down into it.
I thought the state said they had that all figured out.
Uh,
Well, I'm just saying, like, they pulled that land out of the stormwater utility for us collecting money on it,
Yes,
so
I
I figured
know.
they'd have it figured out. I just wanted to make that statement.
yeah, okay.
That's all.
I get it. It's not figured out as far as I'm concerned.
Right, yeah,
So
no,
it's-
I agree.
And it's like we told the state too, we can't do any of these projects unless we have the money. And their support. So, you know, if we
Sure.
get a grant, great. If we can't,
On the McQuam Shore one, is there a lot of planning with Swanton on that, or is the geography is such that it doesn't make sense to do that?
our scope of work was from the Pan Road to the Swanton line. You know, Swanton's gonna have their same issues going on to the north there, but they could build off of our study if they
Yeah.
wanted to.
No, I'm just curious, because they don't have a stormwater utility,
No.
right? So they need to tackle it. I just didn't know if that, stops cooperation or if it's not really needed.
They're not MS4 either, so
Yeah,
that's a total,
yeah.
yeah, it's a big difference.
All the water's clean over there. So.
I don't know how they decided that. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, makes sense.
Fairfax Street Culvert, so the survey is all done, design is underway. That's the one next to the cemetery there. That is, it's grossly undersized. And the thing is all rotting out. All of these metal culverts are rotting out that were put in
That'd be
30,
the
40
first
years
one
ago.
to come over the.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we do have a grant for a portion of that project, so hopefully, you know, those guys will get that design done here quickly. The Christbrook Stormwater, we've been working with Aldrich and Elliott to try and get an amendment from them and just to get that project wrapped up. It was a scoping study for them. Remember, we were trying to get the cemetery to join in, to use some of their land, to put a stormwater infiltration pond or some kind of practice there. And they have now just said absolutely
No.
not. So we need to come up with some other options or write up the options that they've already got so that we can be done with the grant and then try and move on with some of these.
So that pond was gonna go down next to the cemetery, right?
Yeah,
On the edge of it.
it's gonna be down the hill and next to the brook over there.
So it couldn't come up above where Thorpe Avenue is and do it in there.
No, I don't remember the reasoning, but for some reason they did want it down below there. Yeah, I know where you're talking about over there. I think one of the options was trying to put in several smaller ponds that was still gonna be on the Gricebrook property. And one of the other options was to pipe it to the north to get it to go over into Stevens
Right.
Brook. Yeah, I'm not sure what the answer is gonna be there. when
So-
it's all done.
The water is running off of Grace Brook there around, is there a manhole there in the middle somewhere?
Yeah, in the middle of Grice Brook. There are the culverts that go in there and it's just dumping into Satec at this point.
Right, because there
One-
used to be a big washout
Yeah.
behind them,
Yeah.
down into where the school property. So you couldn't do it on the school property?
So far, no.
Well, who says no?
We still need to meet with Bill Kimball to talk about that with him, I believe,
About which part?
about using some of the school property to hold back some of that stormwater too.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, so I don't know.
I mean, what would be their objection? If
Uh,
you lose that anyway.
I think the kids use it for science classes, right?
Yeah, what better science class than a frog pond, right?
Yeah, and keeping them out of the frog pond. Yeah, I know,
Most of the time, they don't have, them stormwater ponds don't have any water unless there's a storm, right?
yeah,
So I would think, just thinking out loud here, the last, was it last summer, they darn near had water running in the back door. Some of that came from up above, I would think it, you know,
yes,
it's part of the solution.
could very well be.
We maybe need to have an audience with the school there.
Well-
We have, yeah, it doesn't appear right now that that's something they want to do. But depending on maybe another proposal more in depth of what we could bring, of what it might look like. Then maybe we can revisit it.
But they'll be the first ones in here when the water goes through the back door next time. Wanting a solution.
So is that affecting our MS4 permit? Christbrook?
I think, did we incorporate that one?
We didn't think it was,
Yeah, I don't have my list of that.
and it's a little bit
No, no.
murky,
I don't-
yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it is. But it's part of the problem,
Yeah, I'm just asking.
yeah. Yeah. And then we've got the east and the west basin projects. Those are the ones that are on up above there.
Yeah.
Got the grant to start that scoping study. We've been working with Aldrich, to get a scope of work. So we had to go through V-Trans to get Aldrich and Elliott approved. And I pretty much said they're already working on all the other projects around here. It doesn't make sense to have somebody else come in, so. Then there's the French Hill culvert. This is the big culvert up there. We did get the grant, but I think we all decided to turn it away because it was gonna take probably 1.5 to 2 years just to get it through the process. Whereas now I've got, well, Cross Consulting Engineers started the design on that before I started working here. So I've got them back on board to finish the design, get the plans and specs ready to go out to bid. And Peter Garso there said he probably have them this week. I met with him a week and a half ago, and he said about 2 weeks.
So it's gonna be a box, cement box culvert.
Well, the plans show it as a box. As soon as you put it out to bid, the contractors can propose something back to us. And if we feel it's gonna work, it could work. I know for a fact, there's a company called Contech that they do like aluminum arch culverts. We
Right.
did one of those in Milton, which could essentially do the same thing. So we'll make sure it goes to all these different companies. And, they can look at it, they can propose it themselves. And that Contech, they even do the design of the culverts themselves, so. So hopefully,
That won't happen this summer or this year either, probably.
we're keeping our fingers crossed,
Oh,
especially on that one.
Yeah.
Just because the road there on the east continues to sag a little more and more. And then we developed a hole in the pavement on the western side of the road. We keep filling it in, but it keeps dropping a little bit, so it's.
yeah, I
It's
climbed
definitely-
down in there last year, or the year it was with the other stormwater girl. What was her
Emily?
name? Emily. Yeah, it was pretty, it's really sagging.
Yeah, you don't want to go in there too far because your feet will go right through the bottom of it.
Yes, no, I didn't
Cut
draw
off.
through it, but I just went down the bank, looked down
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
see how bad it was.
Yeah. I think I posted a picture of one of the other culverts on French Hill on Facebook. I don't know if you guys saw that, but the whole bottom of that thing is gone. And so we got, well, that one's the smaller one, but we got some of those replaced before we do the paving, but we'll talk about that in a second. So anyway, hopefully that French Hill culvert job will be out to bid here soon. The exit 19 scoping study. That one's more of a V-Trans project. We just kind of been involved with what's going on there. And I know that the final alternative or recommended alternative is going to be a single lane roundabout up there. So
When I was there, Dave, they mentioned double lane, but
they've backed it off.
okay.
Well, they kind of know already what they're gonna do, but the
Yeah.
meeting was, I don't know, they weren't gonna listen to anything anybody said anyway, they had it already figured out.
It's just to let everybody
Yeah,
know what's
just-
going on.
That would comment. Got plenty of that.
Where's that next meeting, Dave? It says June 21.
Yeah, it's this Friday.
Where's that at?
It's on Teams. It's like
Oh,
a
it's an
virtual.
online.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next project we're working on is items at the Bay Park. Sean finished the RFP for the architectural services and that's out. I don't know if you've got any update on that, or if anybody's,
That's closes on June 30th. So right now we've got 2 firms interested in, so,
Now, is this for what? The roof?
no, the whole stone house, architectural design, yeah. Which will include the roof, so yes.
Whatever happened to the well? Is that?
that's what I'm gonna talk about.
Yeah, it's the
Oh,
next thing.
Okay, so that's coming.
In Russia.
Well, that just means you're listening because you're anticipating what's coming. So the next one is the well out there. So I still need to finish the source testing report. So I've got they did the testing back in, I don't know, the fall of 21, I think
Yeah.
what it was. And I had to,
was wondering
had-
why aren't we drinking out of it yet?
yeah, well, part of it is there's no sulfur in the water, but it is a hard water, so it's gonna need a water softener. So when, as you know, when you put in a water softener, you gotta backwash it somewhere. So if we use the existing shack that's over there on the north side of the road, and we're backwashing it, you know, where are we gonna backwash it to? So we might have to do,
Put the pipe out the back side of the building.
and you can't do that. So the alternatives are, you get
Ask
another,
for forgiveness.
I think that has happened too long around here.
as it kills all the plants out back, yes. So, but anyway, if we do it over there, we have to get what's called an underground injection control permit, which is essentially, I did one of these up in Enosburg many years ago. It's essentially a leach field. But I don't know how much room we have back there. So that's yet to be determined. The other alternative is we bring all of the treatment equipment and we put it in the stone house.
And then put it in their own.
And then we can put it in our own septic over there. But even then, it's a concrete tank. So the salt. Or we could put it in a holding tank and pump it out. So
It's
it
not,
wouldn't generate a whole lot.
not a great amount.
It's not gonna be a whole, lot.
Back flushing pools.
Yeah, or less, yeah.
So I thought we bored under the road from that well over to the stone house. Am I wrong?
Nope, somebody did that on the slide. That is correct.
Okay, okay. So that did happen.
So there is a line over there somewhere. I'm not sure what size this is. I'm not sure if it's the correct size.
It only cost us a truck full of salt. That's
Yeah,
it.
it
That's
cost
how
us,
I-
yes,
That's how I-
Harder.
yes.
But so are we gonna have to put another line from the new well over to the brown building potentially if we don't go? Or we don't know.
Yeah, I don't think there's,
Somewheres.
I don't think there's a line from the new well to that old shack, the old shed there at this point. So we might
That's
have,
easy enough to do.
that is easy.
Dig it.
It must be, some of the road guys must know where the core is. Right?
Yes, and I think somebody even bought a water storage tank and put in that building and made the building a little bigger to house the thing. Now you can't get it out if you wanted to.
Well, building comes
Absolutely. No. Not that I'm aware of.
harder.
So. Anyway, so,
Oh,
yeah, there's still some thinking we need to do on this one.
And you could, if this, well, obviously this sleeve under the road exists, we could put your back flush pipe that goes all the way to our leach field too, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
conceivably. Yeah.
if you didn't want to move everything, but I think it's better to move it right within new building or whatever we're gonna do there.
No idea how deep it is. There's a lot of unknowns.
yeah.
Somebody knows.
Yeah.
Somebody around here knows.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
Next item is a generator for the DPW garage. So we did put it out to bid. We're gonna go with, it's a Kohler 80 kilowatt generator from Brookfield. So this is You know, it's a big generator. It's not something that you just buy off the shelf and somebody comes and puts it in. So they're telling me that it's currently being manufactured and it'll be ready around November. And that's when we'll get it installed. There's already a kind of a pad for it out there that's gonna work. And there's already electrical lines run out there. Or not the lines, but the
Conduit.
conduit, yeah,
So this isn't on wheels, this is gonna sit on.
that's correct. That one's gonna sit on a
We
pad.
have one on wheels that we use for the pump. station.
That is correct. And we're debating what to do with this building, whether to buy one to put on the pad out here and then do something else with the water. Or get another one on wheels. That would work here and for the pump
The
station.
fire station has one too, right?
Not a portable one.
No, does the school have one?
Uh,
Because at one point, I mean, that school was designated as our emergency shelter.
So they must have one somewhere.
Well, in my years past, before I left, we were working to get the school hooked up. So it could be a shelter, and I don't know where that.
I think it is, so I must have it.
So if we have one here and at the town garage, we're pretty much set for anything.
Yeah.
We could move the whole town in these 3, 4 buildings we got.
A little tight.
Hope that doesn't happen. So,
Okay, keep going.
Okay, next item is the paving. So. I'm just about done and ready to put this thing out, but. All these other projects kind of delayed me a little bit here and there. But I want to do Kellogg Road. I put in for a $200,000 class 2 paving grant, but they only had 94,000. And they called, that's what they had left. And they called and asked me if I would take less than the full amount. And I said, I'll take whatever you give me. And then we'll put it on the road. So that's what we're gonna do. So they're gonna give us 94,000. We'll match it with 23,500. So we're gonna get about a third of a mile of road out there. I'll do as much as I can with it.
Now, where are you gonna start?
We'll start on the south end. We're gonna replace that culvert there on the south end, and then we're just gonna go up the hill. We've got a bunch of ditching and tree clearing to do before we get to the top of that hill there. But once we get that, then then we'll be good. Then we're gonna do Eastview Drive, Westview Drive, both of those roads haven't been done in a long time, and they're kind of looking their age. And then I'm gonna do a section of French Hill. And we're gonna do to approximately the town forest road. There's a couple of culverts in there right now that the guys have been replacing. We've been taking out a bunch of trees, we've been reestablishing all the ditches, because the water is the problem up there. And also that first section, I'm gonna raise the road grade about 6 inches on it. Because the bedrock is really shallow there.
So is this going down into the big dip?
Yes, right,
Where that cement box culvert?
yes. Actually, I'm gonna take it down a little, down there a little bit too. Because the bedrock is really shallow, and with the shallow bedrock, that allows the water to get in there, and then it freezes, and you don't have a whole lot of space for any freezing and contraction, whatever. So that's when it starts pushing the road around.
So right at the corner where Fred Lake goes
Yes.
up,
That's where we're starting.
that's where you start, they finished there the last time they did it.
Yep,
That's
we're
where
good.
they went and peeled it right down to the.
And that's exactly what we're gonna do again.
That piece of road is good. That's-
Yeah. Yes, so we're gonna start right where they left off. We're gonna reclaim it
Yeah,
for as far almost to the town forest road. So the reclaiming is where we regrind it all.
road it
So-
till it.
It essentially rototill it all back in there, and then we reshape it. We're gonna bring in 6 inches more of dense graded gravel to put in there, and then we'll put 4 more inches of asphalt on top of it. So it's gonna be nice and smooth.
Al, you're gonna fall asleep going home.
That's right. And then, this is one section. I see French Hill as kind of a several year project here, because we can't do the whole thing at once. And
No.
even the stuff on the west side of what they did last year is horrible. So, we're gonna piecemeal it until we can get
Right.
it done.
Well, at least we're doing something with it.
yeah,
I'm
you're
happy about
doing it
that.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
when I was a kid, that was like a one lane dirt road. You didn't wanna meet anybody up there.
then they just threw some pavement on top.
That's, yeah, basically a lot of roads in the town, that's how they were paved in the beginning, you just go over the top of them with
Yeah.
the pavement.
Yeah,
That doesn't work usually, but
Yeah.
that's how it got started.
so, and pavement we're gonna do is not gonna take us up to where the new culvert is gonna go. Because we're gonna wait to pave that section
After
until
you
the
do it.
big culvert goes
Yeah.
in, and then we can have a nice smooth piece
Yeah.
across there. So that's kind of my plan.
Mhm.
What I'm envisioning.
And Dave, when do you think that part will start?
The paving,
The French Hill part, yeah.
that'll probably be this fall. You all put a contract in date. Probably like last year, October 31st, something like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Next item on here is the health path. I think Megan knows more about the health path than I do, but I know VHB has wrapped up that report now. And, do you want to add anything on that one right now?
I think
No, I
Dave,
still got a bunch of work.
you got Sampson Road on there too.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry,
Right.
Sampson Road. So Sampson Road, we've got some culverts to work on, and it's just between, McQuon Shore and where it gets to the bay and where it makes the turn. We're not gonna do where the road parallels the shore just yet, because I'd run out of money, so we're just gonna do to the end. We got ourselves
Yeah.
set up to do the rest. Sorry about that. Thank you.
No, it's okay. Just want to make sure everybody knows.
So driving around, we gotta get after these intersections of grass that's getting
Yeah,
pretty high where you gotta really, I noticed coming off.
even just right here.
Right, coming off, but coming over here, everyone's gonna creep way out,
Yeah.
you gotta get that, those wide.
Yes, yep.
Yeah, safety.
This whole corner over here, I'm gonna have them clean everything out. And redo all of it. It looks good with the new guardrail we put in
Right.
there and cleaned it all out. So now we gotta get to the other side of the street. And go up the other roads. Those are coming later on the list, so we'll go back to the health path.
So the health path final report is in, the state has it for review. They've pretty much told us that we need to give them a month or more to be able to review it because they're in the middle of construction season. But that doesn't mean we can't move forward with, like figuring out phasing and funding for different phases of that project. I believe they suggested making it a 4-phase project. Starting like at Collins Pearly and moving towards Harda, towards the rail trail. But we're gonna evaluate it kind of in-house and see what makes the most sense, what phases to do first, and maybe even rephase a little bit, depending on grants that we can get, and other partners that we can bring in to help pay for that. Health path, which will be a great recreation tool for our area to connect Collins Pearly all the way to the rail trail.
So is the city in on that any at all?
Yeah, we've been working with the city. They weren't involved in the beginning process, but once we started picking alternative routes, we brought Chip in and Kelly with the Hard Act Park to help us decide on their property where that path should go and what makes sense for their master plan overall. It'll be a conversation that I think we should have with, you know, if they want to help put in with partial funding for the project to construct the path. I believe a lot of it on their property though was just keeping it kind of on their driveway, so it would be mostly signage that would be needed to direct people where to go on the existing path. We're gonna bring it up Congress Street, so you're not crossing at that terrible like pedestrians on top of the cars at the bad intersection. So it'll come up to where their path goes right now to into Hardak. So we'll use existing infrastructure. We'll have to widen that path a little bit so that it becomes a 10-foot shared use path. And then move on to their driveway and then go across the fields that way.
So you had one holdout landowner, did you get them on board?
We haven't gotten them on board yet. There's alternatives to that landowner. If we don't ever come to an agreement, we haven't been able to sit down specifically with her at this point to show the progress or where the path would specifically go and how it would impact her land and how we could help with other parts. But that will be reviewed when we're looking at phasing. We're assuming that end of it from the end of Hardak to the rail trail is the most difficult wise when it comes to utilities and the level of the land and the hills that are over there. So we're kind of foreseeing that as being the last phase of the project, which will be a few years out.
And we still haven't figured out how we're getting across the interstate, right?
Yeah. Hopefully, we're gonna rely on their roundabout that they might build, but,
That came up.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna ask you, Megan, if there was, so there's no more, 'cause I feel like that's the whole thing. If we're going from there all the way to the rail trail, like that's seems like the toughest problem to solve. And they did come up at the exit 19. That's what I was gonna ask you about. So there's no ideas that they've presented. I mean, a roundabout, it almost didn't matter. Whatever they propose and do there is going to be difficult, whether it's a roundabout when you gotta stop traffic, or if it's 6 lanes you gotta cross if you do light, so.
The whole world stops, you go across.
yeah, in their proposal for the roundabout, they did, after the second or third time that they mentioned it, include a sidewalk around it. So that was really nice that they decided to look at the pedestrian infrastructure and what we're already doing. I have a feeling we will build our sidewalk before they build their intersection at the rate that their refresh is going. So I think it'll turn into probably a signalized intersection, and then they will have to fix or change whatever to continue our path when they reconstruct. There is an option for in our study that could potentially get funded in one way or another to do a pedestrian bridge
Right.
across the Sash, which was at the Sash meeting, seemed to be a big supported project. While V-Trans has actively said no multiple times in the past, I think it's the safest for the pedestrians. Now, it will take up a lot of real estate because of how the elevation grade, like how far you have to go up. But I think it's probably one of the best options, while it will cost a lot of money. But again, we can find partners to go in on that option.
Now on this health path, last I heard several years ago, it was gonna be up to us to plow it with the truck. That's why it's 10 feet.
Or a new piece of equipment.
Up to us.
Up to us.
Yeah,
I think we're still negotiating with the city, especially for like the Route 7 South sidewalk, which we'll talk about, or I don't know. Of them continuing, like they're already plowing on Route 7 South, so continuing along our sidewalk. And when I was speaking with Chip and Kelly about the hard act portion, I kind of brought up the fact of like, maybe you guys could call this for us. And it's not a no. It's we can talk about it later type of situation. If we don't have our own machine by that point.
Is this a paid path or is it like?
No, it'll be paved, it'll be multimodal, which is why it's 10 feet, so it can support two-way traffic, so no engines, but bicycles and
Mhm.
walkers, runners, strollers.
No snowmobiles,
No snowmobile.
gators.
Next one,
Yep.
Route 7 South.
No.
We were right there anyway. So yeah, that one's under construction right now. You've been seeing that. Well, if you get out there and look at it, it's gonna be really nice for the
Yeah,
folks.
I've been going by.
It will really allow people to walk into the city, and
Looks like they hit some water lines and stuff in there.
they did hit a water line right there at Harbor View. Yeah, so they got that straightened out.
Yeah. Oops.
Yeah. But anyway, other than that, everything's been going pretty good out there. Then there's the Route 7 North sidewalk. This is more of a planning project, so I'll pass the torch back to you.
I'll take the microphone back. I think I talked loud enough, but, so the Route 7 North shared use path, this is a scoping study. We're going in conjunction with the city, on this project to extend where the sidewalk ends within the city limits. The scoping study will review all the way up to the Tom Swanton line, for a shared use path, pedestrian safety measures, all the way along Route 7. So it could transform from one type of path to another throughout the process, because as you know, driving from the city all the way out to the Swanton line, it's 3 different worlds. and will have to be addressed in 3 different ways. So VHB is our consultant on that project, and we'll be doing our first local concerns meeting, in July, mid-July, so you'll get notified of that, when that happens.
What side is it supposed to be on?
That's a great question. Most likely the east side makes the most sense when we walked it with the consultant. But there will be crosswalks to get to Price Chopper and to get to Hannaford, Maple Fields across from Hannaford. I want to ensure that each business or not every single business are not going to be crosswalk at Price Chopper and Burger King and Morris Quality Cars, but that they're all accessible from that sidewalk so that the residents of the city and the town, when they're walking and they're not on a sidewalk for part of their walk and then have to cross and be in danger for the other part.
The next item is the town hall permitting, wetlands permitting. So as part of that permit, we needed to plant a bunch of bushes and spray some wetland seed mix out back. And we did that last Friday, right? So that's all done. We've been out there watering and stuff. The other pieces we need to do is we need to finish the path from P.E.G across over to this building. And that's on the guy's radar. So we're gonna dig out all the stone that's in there now. We're gonna put in some nice stone. It's gonna be 5 foot. It'll just be a gravel path, essentially. And then we'll tie that into the parking lot over there. We're gonna expand the edge of the parking lot there just to accommodate our trailer when we have to go in there and pump out that effluent tank. Because right now, the trailer is kind of tearing up the grass. So we can get some stone in there. Stop that from happening. And then we have to put in some kind of informational sign, or water sign, wetlands.
Right, to teach people about what the wetlands are there for, what they do, what
We'll,
they're walking through.
we'll do what we have to do to finish our permit.
Yeah, I think we're good.
We had the state come out and meet with us when we did this. And like, I wanted to know exactly what they wanted, so we got it done correctly the first time, and the same with the path. And I originally had the understanding we needed to dig that out, and move some stuff, whatever, but that is not the case. All we have to do is fix the path up, and we'll just kind of pretty it up. And we'll dig it down 5 or 6 inches, get some stone, good stone in there, put fabric underneath it, and get the stone. And then we'll find a place to put our sign. Now, a big flat rock on one of our projects, it's about 5 feet long. Might be able to use that as a bench over there. Sure. So, we're gonna beautify the place up.
Yeah, there you
Let's see, next item, Julie and I have been doing all the annual inspections for MS4 permits. There's like a dozen of those treatment practices that we need to inspect. EIP did those last year, and we did them the year before. So Julie and I are doing those together. So next year she can probably do those by herself. But my approach with this is, you know, we're looking at all these treatment practices. Right now, we don't really have a firm understanding of what they are, where they are, how they work. So part of our report is going to be just that. Where are these things? How are they supposed to be working? And that way, moving on from here, you know, we're kind of setting the stage for everybody from here on out to know what we have to go out there and look at and what we need to do for this thing. So, might take us a little longer this year, but after that, I think we're going to be good. Because we're going to have to start maintaining all of these things. The next part of the list is kind of what I've got in store for the highway guys and the work that they're doing. So just the list I gave you is kind of a brief one. We need to install a catch basin and some drainage pipe over there on that corner of the Pan Road where it intersects with the farm. You know, there's always just a big hole right there full of water. So my thought is to put a catch basin in there, pipe it to the east underneath the Pan Road and get it into the ditch. The little county road is right over here, we still got that big. We just need to cut out like 100 feet of that, bring in some good stone material, get it compacted well, build it back up. A lot of ditches we need to maintain, Georgia Shore Road, Little County Road, Church Road, that's this area right over here. Want to clean all this up. Get that one there. There's a small stormwater project we can do over on the intersection of Green Mountain Drive and Mason Street. And that's really just cleaning out the culverts and then putting in a couple of check dams, nothing bigger than that. You know, I had all the guys go through a bunch of training last year through Vermont local roads, so they know how to do all this stuff under the current rules. So we're making good progress in all that. We do have some other culvert repairs and maintenance. I listed a whole bunch of that, but there's more. Sampson Road, Kellogg Road, the Palm Shore Road, Brigham Road, Lower Newton Road, Lake Mont, Route 36 intersection. That one froze up on us last year. We were able to get out there and get it opened up. Now we need to get up there again and just clean the whole thing out, and make sure the water's flowing through. And then there's a couple of culverts on the road that actually rusted through the top, and somebody's walking on the edge of the road. That could, I know that there's not much traffic out there, but if somebody were to be out there, they could step in the hole and slice their leg. So, we need to get that one fixed, and then we're working on some of our plow turnarounds. We want to get the easement set. I also had the town attorney do some like template easements for where we could turn around our plows. Because I want to formalize all these things right now. It's just kind of, you can do that. But we also tear up driveways and stuff when we do that too. So I want to make sure that the people know that we're going to be out there and we will repair any damage if we have to use their driveways to turn around. That's it for that list. But yeah, there's a lot of work out there for the guys to do. There's constantly trees coming down. Constantly we're finding more culverts need to be replaced. And there's revenue on one from they have a lot of stuff to do. And the list they've got is longer than I know they're gonna get done this year, which is perfect.
Yeah. I got a question. We don't put metal culverts on the road anymore, right? Does any municipality or those
I
like?
like
I didn't know because they still sell them.
Yes, they probably do.
So I was just wondering if there's a.
Because they all rust out.
Aluminum, you don't even use those.
We've done some of the bigger ones we did, like that company, that Contact, they would put it in the aluminum. And that would be fun. Yeah. If you really, there's old steel companies. They're all showing their age.
Fair enough.
I mean,
Well, thank you for the update.
You're welcome. Then I can pass this over to, you have more?
I have more.
I need you.
Just got a whole list.
I sure do. So we've covered the first three on my list. So I'll start with the former public works site master plan that is being paid through a municipal planning grant. VHBs are consulted. Currently, right now, the consultant has come up with the three alternatives. What we've asked for them at this point is to create cost estimates for those three alternatives, and then verbalize what each one is, how much impervious space it has, the amenities that it's going to have, all those different types of aspects, and then bring that to the select board for a presentation in July. That way you guys can see the full scope of all the options. The planning commission has requested to come to your meeting as well, to have the conversation with you guys instead of kind of in separate meetings, because they're the steering committee for that project. So they really wanted to have a conversation with you guys, and VHB wanted to be able to give a better presentation than just kind of three pictures, and to kind of see what it is. So I know they're working on getting those items together. As soon as I know or get the packet from them, we'll give it to Sean or Jen and forward it on to you guys so you can see it before that meeting and know kind of what you're coming into.
And Megan, I was gonna ask, I know we talked about it, you brought it up, so you just touch on the a boat launch is probably, you're saying is not feasible there?
It's probably the less feasible option of the three. It's not a no. There's always an opportunity to do it. It just depends on, I guess, how much it costs, it's gonna take. And that's their biggest, I guess, concern. VHB's biggest concern is, they create this really pretty picture of what it looks like, but it didn't think about what it would take to build that. So that design might even change as they're looking at cost estimates. We might remove the additional small parking lot, create a better flow, because like the flow of trucks with trailers wasn't making a lot of sense with how far they would have to back down to the ramp. So there might be some changes that makes it feasible, but it's definitely the least feasible. Or I guess I would say the most expensive of the three options. So I'm kind of waiting before making an opinion or whatever, waiting for kind of that cost estimate of what it's gonna be. And that cost estimate will include what permitting costs would be from Army Corps of Engineers in the state as well.
That's one of the three
That's one of the threes, yes.
Thank you.
Yep. The other one would be the community building, keeping the salt shed and turning into a community building of sort, and then a playground, a larger playground.
Thank you.
Ice fisher and access. To go on with the boat launch stuff.
And all three
you
options
could still
have a
access.
kayak launch or a small boat launch option. So all three options have access to the lake. So ice fishermen would be able to use any of the options we choose. Ice fishermen would be able to use, and then small boats, non-motorized boats for like the other two options. There's a nice overlook with a staircase or path down to the lake.
Way back there. You were gonna build one. One of the stair ramps at the town park.
Just a boat launch.
Some concrete, Somebody got wind of that, state told us we couldn't do it. We were not far away, putting in cement down, so then you would have been asked for a forgiveness thing. Whoops, sorry.
It's kind of the same story we're getting with this one. The state is, kind of saying no, but they're not. It's not a hard no, so you might as well get a cost estimate and kind of see what the options are. The next one, kind of in the same areas, our Village Center Master Plan. This is a study we're doing again with another municipal planning grant that we got for the town. And that's going to look at this historic village, St. Albans Bay, figure out what we have here, what we need to fix, a couple intersections that we know aren't great, pedestrian access. We're really, really focusing on the historic nature of the bay and how to preserve that and keep it safe from the types of infill development that are happening in other parts of the town, as well as looking at infrastructure for water and sewer. They're not going to study that. They're just going to kind of use the study we have now and kind of include it. We're also going to look at a large part of this will be stormwater, looking at how we can stop and slow down that water from getting to the bay. And what I like about their proposal, which is SE Group is a consultant for that, is they are going to put in the final plan what grants we can apply for specific parts of the project. So it's not going to be a guessing game for staff here to say, okay, we really want to do this project, but how are we going to get it funded? They're going to include some of that information for us with like the Clean Water Act and things like that to help us find that funding to get these some of the small projects, which will then lead to larger projects down the road, or small projects that end up being a larger project in the long run. That steering committee just met for the first time last week, I believe, and to get the ball rolling. They are planning a lot of public outreach at the farmers markets, doing an online survey and a survey, paper survey at some of our public events, to get the input of not only the Bay Area residents, but also the rest of the town, because as we know, the Bay Park is a big focal part of the town, and a lot of our residents come down and use it and utilize the intersections and the Bay store. And on that steering committee, we've included the owner of the Marina, Chuck, and the manager of the Bay store, Chris. So we're making sure that everybody, I feel like, is represented presented in the best way possible to make sure that this master plan doesn't become something that looks pretty on paper, but then doesn't work with businesses and their plans of what they're gonna do with their properties or their businesses. And I really think that this plan can bring out some positive projects and support to bring it back down to the bay. Not that other projects don't need support, but I think maybe the bay has been, minus the Bay Park, I guess, has been a little neglected and forgot about when it comes to like pedestrian planning and traffic infrastructure and things like that. So hopefully this will bring things back to the forefront and we can upgrade this area.
So who's on that steering committee?
There is a few staff, Sean, myself, John Montang, and then we have Chuck, Chris, Liz Reardon, who's on our historic planning, but she lives just behind Old Town Hall. And then the last one is Amanda Headley, who's on our planning commission. She's our planning commission representative, but also lives in the Bay. I hope it's good. I think it'll be great.
It will be. Yeah. Exciting.
Next one is, or the next two are studies that we're involved in that are not ones that we applied for with money of our own. These are essentially free studies, free information that we're going to get. The first one is a transit-oriented development master plan. This is through a RAISE grant with Chittenden County Regional Planning. They chose to reach out to other counties to implement this grant. And what this does is looks at the greater Burlington area, but they've gone even farther. Rutland is one of the communities. There's 10 communities total. Rutland, Virgins, Burlington, Milton, I believe. And then we're the most northern point. And the study is going to tell us, hopefully, will tell us how to smartly and safely develop land around housing to support transit options. And at the same time as that, there is a micro transit study that the state did, I believe a couple years ago, but NMC has created a sub-study off of this to really evaluate the transit that we have in the city and the town, and Swanton is included in it as well, to identify if it is working well, if it's fulfilling the needs, and they've kind of already identified it as not working and that there are changes that can happen. So we want to ensure that both of those studies work together, because if one study contradicts the other, it doesn't help for getting funding for projects. But the micro transit study with NMC really looks at bus lines and is it smarter to do on demand? Is it better to have vans versus a specific bus route? And as you can tell, as you see, the city is a much different animal than Swanton or than Richford. And so figuring out a combination of all of the three is what we're trying to do now. We do have our next meeting scheduled for June 21st. I think I've double booked myself, but that's okay. It's the 19th.
It's later in the day.
Is it later in the day? Okay, great. Meetings all day Friday. So just to kind of see where we are, GMT is kind of hosting this study for us. They're doing all the data collection and mapping. The last time they came to us, I felt that it wasn't representing the town very well. They weren't coming down to the bay at all. They kind of just completely ignored the whole west side of the town and the residents that use it. And when you're looking at the data of their on-demand rideshare program to doctors and stuff like that, Quam Shore is highly uses that service. So we talked about adjusting the mapping of service area of where that's going to go. So that's kind of the data we'll see at the next meeting, hopefully, to see if it makes more sense to expand some services down here to get our people not only up to the city or to the hospital, but to Richford, or again, from people from Richford down here as well. That study, the micro transit study, should be wrapped up pretty quickly. They thought they were done before we kind of came in and said, let's let's look at other areas. So there'll be a couple more, I think, meetings before we get a final report. The transit-oriented development, though, is just now starting, and that'll be probably a 1.5-year process between the housing and commercial market study that they're doing and then the master planning for housing development. Next on my list is the bylaw modernization grant that we received through the ACCD state department with 5 other municipalities. We were the host applicant, and then we included, I believe, Sheldon, Montgomery, Fairfax, and their own Fairfield on there to study the regulations on housing and how our bylaws were possibly being the problem in the way of housing. You saw your public hearing last October, November, which we called phase 1 because we wanted to, because of the S-100 bill, we did have to change some rules that were in the bylaws to match with what the state had brought down on this. But this next phase, the planning commission looked at more of our site plan regulation, development review board rules to see how we can make it quicker and easier for developers to get through the process of developing small developments all the way up to larger developments. We've made quite a few changes. We've also looked at some parking regulations to see how they are working and how they're not working, and also our signage regulations. And then the last piece of that is some zoning map changes. This will open the projections that they've created are buffers around our conservation areas to ensure that we have large developments or large single lots around conservation areas, but then reviewing kind of the development that's already happening, like for instance, Harbor View and kind of what's south of there, and where we can increase our potential for single family homes and changing zoning to residential.
That's a question, Megan. Representatives Dickinson and Twofer I don't know, it was 2 or 4 weeks ago or so. They're talking about the Act 250 legislation, and I'll get vetoed, and then today it was overridden. Do you have a sense of how that would, what kind of impact that'll have on St. Albans Town? It seems like we were in, by my understanding, the city's gonna be able to do whatever. Enosburg won't be able to do anything, and St. Albans is gonna be in the middle. Do you have any idea how that would have, by St. Albans, I mean the town, of course, how that would affect the town at all?
It's gonna be difficult in parts of the town, and it's gonna be very helpful in other parts of the town, is kind of the feel that we as staff reviewing it are getting from it. I'm not opposed to the difficulties that it's creating in parts of the town. For instance, down here in the Bay where it's conservation, again, as I said before, smart growth does not mean when you need housing, you just put housing wherever you have an open land. So creating that tier system for us might be a benefit, but it is definitely putting a pickle in some of the other towns' plans. Luckily, we're close enough to the city that we have infrastructure, water and sewer infrastructure in a lot of our towns. So it kind of opens us up, I believe, to not have Act 250 review in
The village would be exempt.
yeah, and the village, and then a quarter mile out from the edge of the village line. Would be exempt.
So the village here plus a quarter mile would be more flexible, so to speak. And then areas, I'm assuming like Tanglewood area, I mean, that area right next to the city would also benefit from,
More like,
I don't mean Tanglewood, and I'm just saying that area
Yeah.
around, around the city.
more like the northern
Yeah.
growth district or center. That's the one that the state has kind of zoomed in on as potentially exempt.
It's too bad we overrode that whole thing. It's a disaster. In my opinion.
Did he veto the whole
Trying
thing?
to do.
Did he veto the whole thing? The governor?
Yeah.
He did officially?
Yeah,
Okay,
with the-
shoot. Let's wait on that.
And sat through 2 hours of indoctrination. don't see any good in it.
It's interesting the direction that they're going with. How they feel will help housing.
We didn't ask anybody else anyway, what they thought. So,
No, they never do. Why would
that's
that?
just take it.
That makes sense.
Yeah, an article saw today just briefly, just essentially, as they put it, a compromise between the need for housing and conservation. So where there's conservation, there shall be more conservation, and where there's housing, you could put housing. I mean, seems like that's the answer, so.
Yeah, and as a planner by trade, it's a very fine line of where it's appropriate to expand housing without doing away with natural resources and open lands and habitats and things like that, that sometimes you don't even know exist on the land, and then it gets pushed out to neighboring properties, which might become nuisances and things like that. So identifying those, which is something the planning commission really looked at when they were looking at kind of the zoning map changes of what does it mean if we change this from rural to residential? What impacts could it happen to the properties around it versus not just so much the properties that were on it or being changed?
Thank you.
They did have their public hearing for that last week on the 11th and voted to forward it on to you guys. So I'll be putting together a packet so you can see the information. We don't have a public hearing scheduled yet for you guys, but I'll be certain to give you the information well before the public hearing so that you can get questions asked and maybe even send it back to the planning commission before the public hearing happens. That way it's not delayed and we don't have to do that twice. We already talked about the exit 19. So the last project that I have here is a project that the assessor's office is working on, specifically Molly Maschere. She is working on an E911 renumbering project. This is brought on by the state's but the state's regulations on how roads are to be numbered. And it is over the next 2 years in 3 different phases, we will have to renumber 114 roads in the town. And this is to support the housing initiative of infill. Like we had to do McQuam Shore quickly. We did that, I believe, in 2021 because there was a 1/4 mile of space, but it was one number after the next for the house. And someone was trying to subdivide and sell house lots, and there was no addresses available between the 2 numbers. So that was kind of our first kickoff, I guess, for the project. Molly's been working with Tyler at the state E911 department to make sure that we're doing this correctly. We can support infill development and that we also are supporting the emergency services who understand the numbering system of the state. And if a house isn't marked, they're going to be able to determine where the emergency is based off of the standards versus trying to guess and just knocking on doors.
The Champlain Valley Campground, is that on McQuam Shore? Is that the one?
Yeah, that's the one. And that was one, was a strange one that we ended up having to name all the roads in there. And that one was done just this past spring, I believe. An address is set for each of the campers or camping lots in the property to support or to help with emergency services going in. They don't know where site 106 is, but they would be able to determine, and they now have street signs for each of the roads so that they can quickly get to the emergency. If what happens, not saying it will.
What's that?
That's it.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you for the update.
Yeah,
it's a lot of projects.
Good. So,
Can I ask you a question? I mean, I don't know if it's Megan or Dave or Sean, but something like that. I mean, I just wonder, I know, thousands of people tune into our meetings on YouTube over the next few days, but Wondering if that's if there's a way to write a summary or something and put in the messenger or front porch forum, just letting people know about all the stuff that is going on out there. I mean, I don't know.
What
Yeah, I
the high
think
tax
that's needed.
dollars paid.
They're on the website.
Yeah,
Yeah, they're on our town website.
I'm just saying, put it out other places where people don't have to go find it, but
Put a link
show
on
up
the
in their-
Facebook
in
page
their
or
email
something.
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, or even
Yeah.
shorter, just in some narrative, some prose, maybe some poem or something. No, you know what I mean? Just a summary, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the town, and I think sometimes we don't let people know about it. That's all. Good idea.
We'll just turn the comments off.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Megan.
Okay. John, you're up.
Yeah. The payroll tax, is the new. It's the new basically tax from the state to fund childcare investments, within the state. So, and it's provided that packet to you. It's 0.0044 cents. Yes,
0.44%, right?
yes, sorry, yep. On it, the examples are in there. So for 14,000 of wages, we would be paying $62.48, just as an example. So it's another mandate from the state, so there's no real. Yeah,
It's new, it's an employer tax. Or there, we push it on the employees a certain person. How it works now, you all know, with our paycheck, when it gets subtracted, paycheck, for federal income tax, state income tax, town does a pay, it comes out of the individual's paycheck, goes into a withholding account that every month, each go for the state and the feds. So this is a new act relating to helping people with childcare. So we have a choice. Either the town can absorb it, or the employee can absorb it.
Who makes that decision? Us?
Let me give you an example. Payroll, the gross payroll for a normal payroll for our employees a week is $27,789. So if the town were to absorb that state tax, payroll tax would be $122 per week. So a year would be around $6,600 to cover that bill per child. Okay. We have no choice.
Yeah.
So have you talked to any other municipalities, how they're doing, what way they're doing? What
Mhm.
You have?
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of clerks have chimed in on what we call meeting net, we're all.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And a number of towns are absorbing. I've heard from very few towns that are pushing it on the employees. If you'd like, I can make you copies of all the meetings.
So it's up to us to decide if we do that.
It is.
Is separate question from the funding part, but I'm trying to remember what benefit does this provide people who goes to pay for? Obviously, if they have a child, what's the,
Well, it's
what does it pay?
based on income too, family income. If you read the
Mhm.
for like, I'm not sure what the threshold is, but they can apply to get relief from this payroll tax to fund childcare.
Well, you know. Today, we're gonna get hit with 14%. Or cent, percent property tax increase. I'm just trying to look at it either way. I don't. Now, why would it be fair for the rest of the taxpayers to pay everybody's childcare contribution to the state mandate?
It's kind of what everybody's doing anyway.
What do you mean?
Just, we're all paying it, like it's what you're paying it regardless of where you're working, yeah.
I can't say, but you look at what's happening in this building. There's only a couple of people in this building that have kids, I'm not saying that they qualify for this, but we'd all be able to.
Right.
I don't know if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get your drift. I understand where you're going with it, but like. I feel like I pay it personally now and I'm gonna pay through my property tax a little bit. Not that it's a big portion, but it's still a portion.
Well,
And it kind of lowers the cost of inflation raises that we're giving. But. Just both sides.
for $2.
It said investments too, so I think there might be some room to. Only because of that language, that there might be room for funding for us to access.
So is that taxable gross wage?
It is.
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, my understanding is it's not an either or anyway. You could split the difference, correct?
Yeah, you could go like 50-50, right?
you could go.
Yeah.
Anybody want to make a motion to go 50-50? Okay, hearing none.
Why you gotta decide tonight?
Well.
Starts July 1st.
July 1st.
The
Yeah.
first, it starts, July 1 is correct, but our first payroll in July, I believe our Friday is, July 7th,
July 5th is the first Friday.
first Friday,
Yeah.
so that's in essence.
So we got a meeting on July 1st.
First.
Okay.
I'd rather have everybody here so they just don't blame us three.
But I would rather give you
It's,
I
it's,
just started hearing from clerks.
yeah, I guess, yeah, having said that, I guess it wouldn't be bad to have all 5 members here.
Don't have to come.
So you gotta come, Brendan.
Yeah, see you smiling up here.
He's held that a while.
I've been smiling all night. You guys have been great. I've really enjoyed listening to everybody. And Jack said a couple things that made me laugh really hard. So thanks for that.
But I was serious.
I just didn't know if Brendan realizes his picture is the big
Has
picture.
been the backdrop this whole time.
Yeah, you got recorded screen.
Hey, you know, that face is worth a lot to very few people.
Okay, so I guess we'll table that. We'll table that.
Yeah, let's table that
Table
till
that
next
till
meeting.
July
okay.
1st.
And I guess we could get, Jonathan, not Jonathan, but Jeffrey and, Brandon, this information.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, at least they had it to, yeah, I'd like to, I actually see it solid already, but. Yeah, give it to everybody.
I not put off till tomorrow, what you don't wanna do today.
It's just fair.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you.
we're tabling that. Next thing is just Act 250, which is informational. It's Tyler Stanislas's property up by in Franklin Park West, kind of doing like a what is the word they used? Say rephasing, but basically just redoing some parking up there with those units. Yeah. And that is all I've got.
Okay, anybody have any other business? Hearing none. The next select board meeting is Monday, July 1st and Monday, July 15th. In the.
Yeah, I think we have to technically. Hmm? Okay, yeah, because we proposed having some people being able to switch out that holiday
But we're not doing
for
that.
another day. Some people are,
Okay,
yeah.
so, okay. And offices will be closed June 19th. For a Juneteenth holiday. Okay, having said that. Would somebody like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss a personnel matter? Where premature general public knowledge of the subject matter would place the town at a substantial disadvantage. Further move to enter into executive session to discuss a contractual personnel matter under the provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes, and to invite the town manager and the director of operations, Al Vogel.
So moved.
Second that. Okay, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Thanks, gentlemen. Have a good night.
Thanks, John.